I want to know how you got into, Bitcoin, like specifically, and then I want to know how you got into what made you decide to start a podcast. And, but first, what was your journey into Bitcoin like?
So I'd already told you, like, I was always a very saving person. So when I got into Bitcoin, I like, most people go in Bitcoin and they learn something from that, and most people learn savings. And I already had that. I remember being in the supermarket as a small kid in like the preschool days, and there's like one day I remember nicely. I was there, and whenever my mom gave me like €5 to spend on my lunch money, I put €2 away and saved it, and only spent €3 because I know at home I have a full fridge. Like, why would I need to buy a lot of things in my lunchtime when I have a full fridge at home? So what I would do is spend only €3 on a small thing so I can eat a little bit, and then with the rest of with the remaining of the €5, with the €2, I just save it up for no reason at all. I just save it. So it was always in back of my mind, I want to save money. I want to save my financial energy. I didn't knew why I was doing that back then, obviously, but it was just an intuition that I had. And one day I remember I was at the checkout of the superstore, of the supermarket, and my mom was by accident at the same supermarket because she was buying groceries for us, and she saw me that the kids got all the things, like really a lot of things, and I just bought like that one small bread, and she was feeling sorry for me, and I was like, oh, why are you not using your money? And she was like buying something for me. I just tell that because my mom really wanted to spoil me in that regard, but I still wanted to save. It was so deep in me that I wanted to save. It probably comes from my dad, but it is something that it was always in me. With that, and that's maybe important for now, with 18 years old, I first was able to invest in the stock market. So in Austria, I don't know how it is in America actually, but in Austria, you can only invest in the stock market when you're 18 years old or older. Before that, you can only invest with the parents' permission and with like a child discount and stuff like that. I never wanted to do that. So it was the first time where I could invest something. And what did I choose? And I invested in a savings account of my bank. It was literally the worst decision ever. But I did that for, I don't know, a few months, and I accumulated like 4 cents in interest payments. And I said, that's nothing. So I rather just don't do it at all. I was like doing the calculations, whatever, do it for 20 years, nothing happens. And then I went to the next one, ETFs and all the instruments. I had it always like for half a year, for a year. And I was like, there's not a lot showing up. Like, I want to do something with that money. So I eventually came into the stock market game. I was a complete stock pro. For the first 2 years, I didn't want to make any money because I had to learn how to pick stocks. It's a skill, how to see the 10 Qs, the 10 Ks, and see, okay, what is a good management team? What is a good cash flow? Like, what are the good P ratios and stuff like that? How to pick a nice stock. I had to learn those things. And it took me about 2 years, from like 18 to like 20 years old, to really learn that. And then I had 1.5, 2 years where it went really great, actually. And more people, because it went great, asked me, hey, what do you think about that Bitcoin thing? And I said from the beginning, I did the stock market thing till I met Bitcoin from 2017 to 2020 it was. Bitcoin is a pyramid scheme. It's a scam. It has no cash flow. It has no value. Like, why should I buy it? So in 2020, I finally decided, hey, more and more people kept asking me about Bitcoin. I want to really prove them wrong, why Bitcoin is bad, and I want to find more arguments against Bitcoin. So I basically set out for a mission for one weekend. This is the weekend where I try to find arguments against Bitcoin. And this was the weekend where I found arguments for Bitcoin. So this weekend basically orange pilled me. So on Monday, I got into a Coinbase account. On Tuesday, I got my first ledger. And from there, it was just a matter of time till I went all in. It was like 2020, where I was orange pilled, and 2021, where I basically was 100% into Bitcoin.
Wow. So yeah, that's the crazy part about when people tell you to invest in Bitcoin or to buy Bitcoin. And by trying to tell people why you shouldn't do it is how you end up deciding that it's the right thing to do. It's crazy how that works. So I think that's how my journey was in 2020 also. That's when I got started. And I feel the same way. Like, I thought it was interesting, but you have to do the research, you have to try to disprove it. You do want to you are skeptical about it, but the more you learn about it, the more you realize that all the thoughts you had about it are not what you thought. So one of the biggest pushbacks I get from people, and I remember us talking on your show about how we don't try to argue with people. We just like to let them speak and see why they don't think it's a good thing. And we just find that gap in knowledge, because then they eventually realize, or you eventually realize, that the arguments they're making, there's some sort of a lack in how much they know about it. So then you could ask, well, why do you think that? And then they start to, come around. But the biggest pushback I get from when I ask like some stubborn people, or because they know that I understand Bitcoin, they love to just bring up that it's not backed by anything, or what does it produce? Because most resources in the world, they produce a material that's valuable, and they just don't understand that. The way I try to explain it, I don't know if you have a different way to explain it to people who say those things, but what it produces is security from theft, because the network is large and decentralized and global, and it protects the time and energy you're putting into that network that nobody can steal from. So I call it a big shield. I'm like, that's what it produces. It produces the biggest defense against theft. But I don't know if you have another way that you put it, or do you encounter people that say that, or something else?
It's such a lazy thing to say, saying like, Bitcoin doesn't produce anything. Yeah, like what does gold produce? And then people are like, oh yeah, gold is used in metals and in smartphones. Yeah, how much is this? Like 5% of the value of gold? Think about how much more aluminium is used in all sorts of things, and why is aluminium so much less worth than gold? Because gold is used as a store of value. Storing value is the use case. Like having a place where you can store your financial energy, where nobody can manipulate it, where nobody can do anything with that, and it's yours. You have the key to that place. That's the use case. And then we have the lowercase b and the uppercase b of like the Bitcoin as a store of value and the Bitcoin as the network. So the network also has some value to it, but obviously it's the biggest value is that you can store your financial energy in a savings device where you don't get inflated away, where you don't get censored, where your money is not getting stolen, where all those arguments. So people don't say that's a use case. The fact that Bitcoin is not used for anything else than just money makes it the perfect money. We don't want money to be used in smartphones. We don't want money to be jewelry also, because jewelry should be jewelry, and things that go in smartphones, materials should be in smartphones. Money should just be money at the end of the day. And people that actively, and that's a really good point, people that actively take the decision to not buy Bitcoin, betting against Bitcoin. So if you have 0% Bitcoin allocation, you're basically saying Bitcoin is going to zero and it will fade out. Then you better have a good reason for that. If you're betting against Bitcoin and you think Bitcoin will go to zero, you should better have a really good thesis, because the last 16 years you have been dead wrong.
100%. That is such a good point. I mean, if it's not going to zero, it's going to continue going up. That's what we say. So they have been dead wrong. So that's a really great point. I love it.
And on also one thing, a lot of people don't realize that this decision is an active decision. They just make the decision of not making a decision. So they're just doing their savings in euros and in US dollars. Then they might have a small stock portfolio. Maybe they have some ETFs, or maybe they own their own home and they see their home as an investing. These all are decisions. We are not. If you don't go into Bitcoin, that's this active decision against Bitcoin. People think if you don't go in Bitcoin, I just did not make the decision, so I don't have to think about it, and I don't have to research Bitcoin. But you do have to research Bitcoin, because if you're not into Bitcoin, you're betting against it. If you listen to any Bitcoiner and you think, oh, like, he's talking that Bitcoin is completely revolutionizing the whole financial space, then this is a pretty huge thing. So I should spend some time to think about, is this actually going to happen or not? So if you spend some time on that and you're educating yourself, you will come to the realization, oh yeah, that's actually happening. This is actually possible. And if you think that there's just a 3% chance that Bitcoin might actually be the next financial asset that is underlying everything, then allocate 3% of your portfolio to Bitcoin. Nothing wrong with that. It shows your conviction. I have 100% of my wealth in Bitcoin because I'm 100% certain. That might be foolish, because there might be a black swan event. I don't think so, but that's my belief. That's my conviction. And if you have a 3% chance that Bitcoin might be the thing, then you put 3% in the Bitcoin and 97% of your money in whatever other system you believe in. If you think the digital euro will rule the world, then put 97% in the digital euro and 3% in Bitcoin. Right. I think I will have a better financial future with my Bitcoin bet against your digital euro bet, but it's fine. But people have to realize they make an active decision. They're not like that bothers me a lot when people are just like, oh, I don't want to look into Bitcoin. I don't want to make a decision. You made a decision.
Yeah, you made a decision by ignoring it. So your decision is, once you hear about Bitcoin and it crosses your mind and you've heard anybody talk about it, whether it be on a podcast or just in real life, just hearing it mentioned, the fact that you even know that such a thing as Bitcoin exists, once you find that out, you make the active decision to not care or not be interested or not learn about it. So you're right. It's like, if you don't think this thing is true, then figure out why you think that. Try to understand that, why you don't believe why you think everybody else is wrong that you hear talking about it. It's definitely something worth your time to try to understand. Like, why do people think this is the future? And that's what bothers me about people who believe in gold so much and promote gold so much, because you're supposed to be the type of people in this world that educate people on finances, and you don't take the time yourself to realize that your own arguments are false. So I think that is just laziness. Hate to say it like that. I feel bad if I just tell, but it is lazy. It's lazy because you're not taking the time to either understand it or to prove it wrong. Try to prove it wrong. And that's usually why we're here to see where, help them through it if they have questions. We're here to be supportive and to help people understand. But just, I think when people argue just so much against it, it's just like, it shows that they obviously haven't taken the time. So
it's 100%, and it's something. There are certain innovations in the human history that changed civilization forever, and I call them the fork in the road invention. I don't have a better name for that right now. Bitcoiners really encouraged me to look at history, and this is what I basically right now do when I don't have a podcast and when I don't research Bitcoin. now and now research history. So I've looked into the printing press, the steam engine, electricity, the electronic telegraph with communicating, all those innovations in the past that have been made from Samuel Morse, from James Watt, from all those innovators that changed how we think about the world, that changed how we interacted with the world. And we can now really dive deep into the different invention, but probably would be a very long one. But let's say like the printing press. Before, the information was controlled by churches. The information was controlled by a small elite group of people that had the manpower to actually write the books. One book took a few months or sometimes a year, depending on how big the book is, to make. When Johannes Gutenberg came and invented the printing press with the movable metal type, with the oil-based ink, and with the wine presses, with the screw press, he basically made it possible for everyone to print books. So if you look before Johannes Gutenberg, we have one book in like few months or like sometimes even over a year. Then Johannes Gutenberg came in, and in his first 5 years of the invention, he managed to print 180 books. It's a lot more because he was just one person. But then look out for 50 years later. So in the first 5 years, he managed to print 180 books. Then in the next 45 years, there were another 50 million books. And this was just Europe. So imagining what happens if the right innovation comes into the conversation. We don't even know how much civilization and the human civilization will change just because we have a better money. And money is so fundamental. This book thing was very fundamental because it unlocked information. Now all of a sudden you can, and we can go really deep, but there's like with Martin Luther King, Martin Luther, who has used it, and many others who used that technology like to spread messages and stuff like that. There were so many bookshops, like it was all of a sudden affordable for people to produce books. There was all of a sudden people started learning to read. Before that, not a lot of people could read because there are not that many books around. Why should you read? So there's all those things coming from an innovation that we don't even know about. So if you just give that a 5-10% chance of Bitcoin being one of them, don't you think it's fair to like read one book about it? Why not give it a chance?
Yeah, coming from somebody who, as a child, you saved 2 out of your 3, I don't want to say dollars. What currency was it?
Euros, but yeah, it's almost the same.
Okay. You saved 2 out of your 3 euros as a child. You were into saving as a kid. You always had that habit. You always wanted to save money. So coming from somebody like that, you're not somebody who, as a kid, you spent all your money. You always wanted more. You're always trying to look to gain more. You're not the type who gambles. You're the type who saves. So your personality, the type of person you are, you're not gambling when you get Bitcoin. You're gambling when you don't get Bitcoin. So you are actually doing the right thing because you took the time to find the best way to save your money, because you, as a kid, that was your goal, and you still have that goal. And so it's not coming from somebody who you're thinking is a risky with their money. Your opinion is from someone who, as a child, and there aren't too many children who think that way, so you've always had this, and you're not the type of person who gambles. So I think a lot of people, don't understand that. They think that Bitcoiners are taking that risk, but Bitcoiners are actually seeing that this is the best savings tool. So yeah, that's a really good point to, speak on your behavior, always how you've been, and what kind of person they're listening to give them this advice. It's not somebody who is reckless.
Thank you for watching this video. This was only a snippet of the podcast. And if you want to watch the full episode and get all of the context of this episode, you can click right here or here. Oh, maybe also here.